1.4. Measure and classify angles. An angle is composed of two different rays with the same endpoint. Put same up here, same endpoint. So let's draw that real fast. We have A endpoint, and here is a point B, point C. So this would be an angle. Angle is composed of ray AB and ray AC. Same endpoint, so it's an angle. And the sides are the individual rays that make up this angle. Vertex is the common endpoint. Measure of an angle. This is kind of like the ruler postulate, and it's that you can line up a protractor and you can measure an angle from 0 to 180 degrees. 0 would be no angle, and 180 degrees would be a straight line. So let's just leave that like it is. An acute angle, you probably remember this, is an angle that is between 0 and 90. And it can't include 90, so it has to be under 90. A right angle is exactly 90 degrees. Obtuse is greater than 90. Straight angle, 180. Congruent angles, they have the same measure. An angle bisector is a ray that divides the angle into two congruent angles. Alright, example 1, name angles. Now, it would be tempting to just name this angle B, but we can't name it angle B because we don't know which B we're talking about. So, we have to name it by using 3 letters. So first we write the angle symbol, and then the endpoint. All these angles have the endpoint B. Endpoint has to be in the middle. So let's write this angle first. It would be A, B, C. Or we could flip that around and say C, B, A. My angle sign on each of these. Okay. Let's do the next one. Would be angle CBD or angle DBC. And then finally, we have angle ABD or angle DBA. Okay, and then again, you should not name any of these angles B because all 3 angles have B as their vertex. Okay, the protractor postulate. Consider OB, and point A on one side of OB. The rays of the form A, or the OA, can be matched 1-to-1 with the real numbers from 0 to 180. The measure of AOB is equal to the absolute value of the difference between the real numbers for the ray OA and the ray OB. Okay, let's talk a little bit about this, just in case you don't remember how to measure it. If you're trying to measure an angle, first you need to take one of the rays and line it up with this line on your protractor. And then put the vertex exactly in the middle. A lot of protractors will have an O or a hole or some sort of X here. And you just line that up. Then you're going to read where it would cut through the protractor. Now notice that there are two scales. There's a scale here, counts from, say, 0 to, I think, 66 or so. And we have a scale here, counts from 0 to 100 and, let's say, 3. Okay. Now, how do you know which one? Oh, it's not 103, 113. Or 14. 114. How do you know which one to measure with? Well, if you look at this angle, it's a big fat angle. We're going to need the fatter measure, aren't we? If we called it the 66, we'd actually be measuring this angle and not the one we wanted. So just be careful. Okay, example 2. Use the diagram to find the measure of the indicated angle. Then classify the angle. WSR. You see it? WSR. Okay, so we are measuring from here to here. So it's under 90, so we're going to use a small scale. So we look up here, and this is about 65. Let's see, 65. So it's under 90, so it's an acute. S to T, okay, B, T, S, W. T, S, W. Let's take this away. And T, S, W. Okay, it's fat, so we're going to use a bigger scale. So it's 115. Okay, it's more than 90, so it's an obtuse. R, S, T. Straight line, so it's a straight angle. And we know straight angles are 180. And then VST, go back to the picture. VST is straight up and down here, exactly at 90. So it's a right angle. Okay, go ahead and do the checkpoint. Turn the video back on when you're through. Postulate 4, angle addition postulate. If P is in the interior of angle RST, then the measure of RST is equal to the sum of the measures of RSP and PST. So, here we go. All that means is that just like the segment addition postulate, the whole thing equals the sum of its parts. So the whole angle equals the sum of its two parts. So, given that GFJ is 155, find the measure of GFH and HFJ. Solution. First, we always need to write it in words. So, GFJ equals, and these little m's here mean the measure, or the numbers for the degree. And so, GFH and HFJ, substitute in for what we know. 155 equals 4x plus 4. And do you see how they wrote those in parentheses? In case we had any sign problems. Now we're going to go ahead and collect like terms. 155. 4x plus 4x is 8x. Plus 4 minus 1 is plus 3. I'm going to subtract 3 from each side to get 152 equals 8x. Now I'm going to divide each side by 8. To get x. And x here is 19. Now, is that the answer they wanted? No. What they want is to find the measure of these two angles. So now we have to evaluate the given expressions when x equals 19. So we know that GFH is 4x plus 4. So now we need to put in 4 times 19 plus 4. And that is going to equal 80. And HFJ was 4x minus 1. So we need 4 times 19 minus 1. And that equals 75. So we have 80 degrees and 75 degrees. Okay, go ahead and do the checkpoint here at the bottom. And start again when you're through. Example 4. Identify congruent angle. Identify all pairs of congruent angles in the diagram. Alright, these little arcs here means that any other angle with one arc is the same. So P equals angle N. We say they're congruent because they're the same size, same shape. Angle L equals L because they both have two arcs. Okay, because the angle P is congruent to angle N, the measure of angle P equals the measure of angle N. So here we're just, with the congruent sign, we're talking about the size and the shape being the same. With the measure here, we're talking about the actual numbers of its degrees being the same. So angle N is 120 degrees also, just like angle P was up here. Example 5. In the diagram at the right, WY bisects XWZ, and the measure of XWY is 29. Find the measure of XWZ. So the whole thing. Now notice the little arc lines here. We know they're the same because this is a bisector. And so if this side equals 29 and it's a bisector, then this side has to equal 29. And so we can write it all out as this. The measure of angle XWZ equals the measure of angle XWY plus the measure of angle YWZ. Because they bisect, we know that angle XWY is congruent to angle YWZ. So those measures are the same, and we can write the measure of the whole thing equals the measure of XWY plus the measure of angle YWZ equals 29 plus 29 is 58. And then the final checkpoints.